Today, the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most strategically important waterways on Earth. But could an ancient biblical prophecy, written roughly 2,500 years ago, point us toward the same region? Every day, enormous quantities of oil and natural gas move through these narrow waters, connecting the Persian Gulf with the Arabian Sea and the wider world. Now, remove the tankards, remove the modern cities, turn the clock backward more than 2,000 years. We arrive in the age of Persia, one of the greatest empires the ancient world had ever seen. And living within this world was one of the Bible's most mysterious prophets, Daniel. Daniel had been taken from Judah during the Babylonian captivity. Yet over time, he rose from captive to influential advisor in the courts of kings. Kingdoms changed around Daniel. Babylon's power eventually collapsed, and the Medes and Persians rose. The Persian Empire would stretch across an enormous territory, from Central Asia toward Egypt and the Mediterranean. Persia was not isolated from the sea. Its southern territories bordered the Persian Gulf, the body of water leading directly toward what we now call the Strait of Hormuz. Daniel recorded extraordinary visions involving kingdoms that would dominate this part of the ancient world. In Daniel chapter 8, Daniel says he received a vision while associated with Susa, a major royal center of the Persian world. Daniel describes himself in the vision beside the Ulai Canal, surrounded by the landscape of the Persian Empire. Then Daniel sees something extraordinary, a ram standing before the water. The ram possessed two horns. One was higher than the other, and the higher horn appeared later. Daniel watched the ram charge westward, northward, and southward. Nothing seemed capable of standing against it. But Daniel does not leave us guessing about the ram. The angel Gabriel explains its meaning. Gabriel declares that the two-horned ram represents the kings of Media and Persia. This was not merely an abstract kingdom. Persia controlled land, trade routes, cities, and coastlines across a huge section of the ancient Near East. Travel south from the Persian heartland, and eventually the land meets the waters of the Persian Gulf. Follow those waters southeast, and they narrow dramatically between Persia and Arabia. Today, that narrow passage has a name recognized throughout the world: the Strait of Hormuz. But an important distinction must be made. Daniel never uses the words Strait of Hormuz. Instead, Daniel's prophecy explicitly identifies Persia and describes the rise and collision of great regional powers. Daniel then sees another creature, a male goat, moving rapidly from the west. The goat crosses the earth with astonishing speed and attacks the Persian ram. Again, Gabriel gives Daniel the interpretation. The goat represents Greece. Centuries of history would remember the astonishing Greek conquest led by Alexander the Great. The mighty Persian Empire that once appeared unstoppable was confronted by a new power from the west. Alexander's campaigns shattered Persian imperial power and transformed the political landscape of the ancient world. Daniel's visions, therefore, focus repeatedly on powers centered around Persia and the surrounding Middle Eastern world. Daniel chapter 10 returns us to Persia once again. The chapter dates Daniel's revelation to the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia. Daniel records a mysterious spiritual conflict involving what the text calls the prince of the kingdom of Persia. For Daniel, political events on earth were connected to a much larger spiritual struggle. Then Daniel chapter 11 describes conflicts involving kings, territories, and armies across the region. The prophecy speaks repeatedly of powers described as the king of the north and the king of the south. Daniel describes invasions, alliances, betrayals, and armies moving through strategically important territories. In the ancient world, geography could determine the survival of kingdoms. Mountains, rivers, deserts, and narrow passages shaped trade and warfare. The Persian Gulf became part of this wider network, connecting Mesopotamia, Persia, Arabia, and lands beyond. Long before modern oil tankers, sailors and merchants navigated these waters. The geography itself created something timeless, a narrow gateway between the Persian Gulf and the open waters beyond. Empires disappeared, kings died, languages changed, yet these mountains and waters remained. Now move forward more than 2,000 years. Ancient Persia is today largely associated with modern Iran, a nation still occupying the northern side of the strait. Where wooden vessels once crossed these waters, enormous tankers now carry energy supplies toward global markets. This is why conflict around the strait can immediately capture the attention of governments and markets around the world. So did Daniel specifically predict today's Strait of Hormuz crisis? The biblical text does not say that directly. The stronger connection is geographical and historical. Daniel's visions place Persia at the center of major struggles between kingdoms, and that ancient Persian world included the region surrounding today's Persian Gulf. Daniel looked upon Persia roughly 2.5 millennia ago. Today, the same region remains at the center of international attention. Daniel never named the Strait of Hormuz, but his visions remind us how ancient geography, powerful kingdoms, and the land of Persia continue to echo through history. 25 centuries later, the world is still watching these waters.